Welcome to Doing It My Way by Beata Matras, a podcast about project and product management, communication, brand, and IT. All these topics will definitely improve and have a positive impact on your career. So join me today, subscribe, and expect a new episode every week. Thank you. And today I have a special guest, Natalie Choufani, a digital and product specialist with extensive experience, including a significant tenure at Meta. Natalie has also made her mark in various roles in data and analytics, market intelligence, and product strategy. She has a remarkable journey that includes a recent career break to focus on her personal growth and entrepreneurship. In this episode, we'll explore the impact of taking a career break, the unique experiences of working at Meta, and the lessons Natalie has learned along the way about work-life balance and professional growth. Welcome to the show, Natalie. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Batra. Thank you. I am so thrilled to be speaking to you.
So, Natalie, could you start by giving our listeners a brief overview of your background and your journey in the professional world?
Sure. So I've been in the tech and media space for about 12 years now. I started off as an analyst in the back end, buried in Excel sheets. But over time, as my career grew, I evolved from being a data analyst to being more of a data consultant. And I was able to take the skill of taking in information, interpreting it, analyzing it, and then communicating it back in a way that's very simple, clear, and actionable. And that turned out to be a very transferable skill that led me on to multiple roles within data, media, and then product towards the end. So I've been kind of across the whole landscape since then.
Okay, and your career spans across multiple high-profile roles in digital and product. And what initially drew you to this field, and how your journey evolved over the years?
So my first step into product management happened very organically, kind of very naturally. I started off working with clients at a media agency back in my data days, working on their media and their performance. And that work evolved into into not only using data to optimize their media spend, but using that same data to provide a 360 overview on how they could best achieve their business objectives. So like how they're able to increase sales, increase leads, increase awareness, and so on. And I specialize in research and consumer insights, and then worked backwards to kind of create a more product insight avenue where we would create a product feedback loop with consumers. And we would use data essentially to kind of drive product adoption and growth. And over time, that evolved more and more into a product marketing role. And it was never something I really purposely thought I would get into, honestly, but I've grown to love it since then. Product management and product marketing roles combine the things I love the most, which is data, strategy, and communication. So I very much found the right place for me to be in and to thrive in.
Okay. And you spent nearly 3 years at Meta, and by many product people, but by many individuals and business professionals, it's like a holy grail of workplaces. How does it differ from the other roles you've had in different companies?
Okay, so just to say, Meta truly is the holy grail of workplaces. I will never argue against that ever. When I first got the confirmation offer, I couldn't believe I had made it, essentially. I got the role in 2020 amidst a lot of negative things happening in the world around us. And this job was like my slice of happiness, almost like a very dark time around the world. So to me, it was validation as well that all of my really grueling hard work had paid off in the past, because I finally reached my role of landing in tech. Now, I'll never forget, within after my second week of work, I finished around 7 p.m. that day and just had to sit for an hour in complete stillness and quiet to fully just process all the information that I had been exposed to. It was just so much information, and it was fantastic. And that's the beauty of working in the tech industry, especially kind of in these bigger tech companies. You are exposed to so much information, so much people. And if you are the kind of person that enjoys information and big meetings and lots of people kind of around you, then you will thrive in these kind of companies. Why I loved my experience at Meta so much was that I was given the freedom and the autonomy to take a project and just go. You're given a lot of trust and a lot of accountability. And to do well in these kinds of companies, you need to be able to take a project on and drive it yourself, and to know when to humble yourself and to ask for help. Also, to be resourceful and to know where to look for help when you need it, and what questions to ask and who to ask as well. Um, I think that most importantly, though, what I learned to value the most at Meta was I had basically open access to people from around the world. I could log into Workplace, which was our internal communications portal, and reach out to whoever I wanted, literally. I never experienced that ease of communication before. In all of my previous jobs, there was like lots of hierarchy and red tape, and markets weren't as open to each other. At Meta, there was an extreme openness that I will always value.
Okay, that sounds almost like, yeah, like a holy grail of workplaces. And you mentioned a lot of advantages, which also, when I think about it, can lead to, disadvantages, because it's always like a double-edged sword. But we'll not cover that today. Um, but I want to like touch more upon your key takeaways from your time at Meta. What were those?
So, after being there for 3 years, I really had to learn to get outside of myself and to be comfortable approaching people. My first few months brought about a lot of imposter syndrome. And there were times when even the smallest things, like reaching out to a director in like a different market, seemed so daunting to me. Being in these kinds of companies where, whether it's Meta or any big tech really, is a lesson in collaboration. Your strengths and your weaknesses reveal themselves very early. And because of the way you are kind of like set to be very accountable and like kind of like structured and kind of like leading things on your own, it's up to you to take the accountability to push past whatever may be holding you back to get the job done. It really is like a lesson in accountability and like kind of getting things done on your own or driving things yourself more than anything else.
Yeah, so it sounds like there is a mixture of collaboration, but also you need to know your value and the value that you're providing to the organization. Because if you don't have that kind of confidence of what you're coming to and bringing to the company, you can end up a little bit lost, I would say, in this kind of fast-paced environment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it's everything is so vast and so big and so open that you do end up a little bit lost. And it's up to you to be able to just accept to be lost, humble yourself a bit, and know that, like, okay, you're lost for a bit. Like, you can find yourself eventually. Just like have that inner trust in yourself that, like, you have the resources around you, look for them, ask for help, and you will be okay eventually.
Yeah, and that I think leads us like naturally to the next theme of our conversation, which is managing career breaks and entrepreneurship. Because you recently took a career break to focus on your personal growth and being the entrepreneur. And how did that decision impact your professional life and career journey?
Okay, so first to address why I took a career break after working for a like holy grail company, because that was the question I was asked the most when I made my decision to leave public. For the first 2 years, I loved my role. I was learning, I was challenged, I worked on projects that gave me a sense of satisfaction. And in my third year there was a company shift in focus, and I found myself less enthusiastic about working in the creator space. And I was finding that I would have this ongoing thought in my head that kept saying, this is not for you anymore. Deciding to leave didn't come lightly, though. For the longest time, I was so attached to the identity of being someone who worked in this impressive tech company and having this impressive tech role. So much so that I unknowingly put myself in this golden cage. So here I was in this fantastic place to work, knowing that I had little to no growth coming my way. And I was going from meeting to meeting to meeting, feeling uninspired and eventually resentful of how I was spending my days. Now, it's important to also mention that this is quite important that this was after a 12-year career. So I had done a lot of time. I needed a personal break for my own personal reasons. I had some savings to fall back on. I had enough experience to feel secure in just like taking a bet on myself. And an idea for a product that I wanted to create that was constantly on my mind. So I was very ready to step out of the employed world and see if entrepreneurship was for me. Like I felt very comfortable with like just taking a risk on myself and seeing where things went. Now in hindsight, looking back at this past year, entrepreneurship has played a very little role in the significant experiences I had. Unintentionally, it ended up being a year of immense personal growth, where I have, for the first time as an adult, taken the time to look inward and to understand why I am the way I am, and to better yet, have a clear picture of the person I want to be and move in that direction. I think ambition, at least for me, is tied to very complicated emotions. So I was able to just take some time and unpack that. And having like a lot of time alone kept me with my thoughts. And I was able to just kind of like realize what I want in life and also just accept that entrepreneurship is not for me. And that's okay.
Yeah, I remember when I met you during the product tank in Dubai. And it was like almost magical because we were both like standing in a queue for a water, which, well, was not common because most of the people were like drinking something else. But yeah, I remember like approaching you for a conversation. And then we just went together. We started talking about, yeah, different things about our lives, about our careers. And it ended up yeah, about the conversation about life and your experience of like taking that courage and that belief in yourself and taking a year off to grow personally, to experience entrepreneurship and like to realize maybe that it's not for you and it's okay. Was I think a kind of like pivotal moment also. Yeah, because I was also that back then I was also thinking about what to do next, what is like my next kind of, career step. And that kind of break to after so many years in the industry where, as you mentioned, you almost like merge your identity with the company identity. And at some point you realize that I'm not sure if my name, if my skills, it's actually enough to try and like put a bet on me. So thank you for that. And that leads us to another question like what were some challenges and benefits you encountered during your career break?
Okay, so let's focus on the benefits first. I spent the first 6 months of my experience working for myself, fighting a daily battle against procrastination. It was a struggle to get anything properly started without a line manager or a deadline like looming over me. During the 6 month, I had had enough and made it my mission to kind of figure out how to manage my procrastination for good. I threw myself into learning everything about why people procrastinate and what the root of it is. I mean, at this point, I was looking for any excuse not to work anyway. So I was procrastinating by like learning about procrastination. And I spent many weeks reading, learning, watching, and just to kind of like simplify all the information I learned and I read, I came to understand that procrastination is a choice. It is an unconscious reaction to something that's either difficult, uncomfortable, or boring. So when I took a moment to identify which of the three reasons it was, I knew how to break the issue up and tackle it. So over time, procrastination as a choice became my mantra, and I would repeat it many times throughout the day. I found myself looking for reasons not to do something. Essentially, the biggest benefit of this year was I got my productivity back. And I have now, 1 year in, gotten to a place where I can look at my to do list and get it done with little to no resistance. And I mean, to be honest, procrastination is like a very old friend of mine that I remember fondly, sort of, but don't interact with much in my life anymore. And that's something I am so grateful for. It has completely changed my approach for how I approach my work, but also in my personal life. I just get things done now, which is such a relief.
Okay. That's interesting approach. Like procrastination is a choice
Mm-hmm.
because you can never think about it. I mean, I've never thought about it in that way. It was more like, okay, I have to do list. I have to do this, or that. Mm, but on the other hand, procrastination can be a little bit hidden. Even if you're doing things, you might not do the right things, but just do the things for the sake of like almost like lying to yourself that you're doing the right things and you're doing something so you don't have to like actually come back to the tasks that bring the most value.
I mean, I can't tell you how much organizing and decluttering I did during this period of procrastination because I had to keep myself busy, but I didn't want to like do my actual work because I found it so boring. So, I mean, it really is an unconscious choice sometimes, but it is a choice. Like once you like kind of be a bit more present and catch yourself doing things and take accountability for your actions and just kind of like accept that this has to get done. My advice for people always, because like, I've become quite good at this now, is that break things down into very, very small steps. If you have to do one thing, what is like the first 10%? Focus on that. And just kind of like get yourself to like the next 10% like each time. And you do get there faster. It sounds almost counterintuitive, but don't focus on the end. Focus on like kind of the small bits in between and you will get there. It kind of makes the hard things look easy, uncomfortable things look less uncomfortable, the boring things look less boring because you have to like do it less. It's just like a matter of reframing things and how you think about them.
Yeah, it's almost like um, if you, I don't know if you're hiking or you have like these kind of hobbies, but very often, you choose like 20 or 30-kilometer trail. And at first it looks scary, but then like I remember like in difficult moments, I focus on, okay, there is like this mountain and I can rest there. So just making steps and looking not, what is ahead, but looking like right now on my foods. And eventually I don't realize when I got to the place where I can finally rest and then again move on and move on. So that resonates a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I feel like procrastination is like one thing that we can all collectively agree is such a driving force in all of our lives. It's the common unifier between everyone around the world. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to move to the question again about the career break because many people
Challenges. Yeah.
is also afraid of taking a career break, and I think this is the main challenge. Yeah, the fear of taking a career break, thinking that they won't be able to return to the regular job. What advice would you give to professionals considering a career break?
So kind of when I look at challenges, there are two ways I kind of look at it. First is like the actual challenge of entrepreneurship and like the challenge of taking the risk. So like the challenge of entrepreneurship first that kind of people need to understand is that what I didn't anticipate was how lonely it was. I found myself alone during the day most of the time, and my last job was so over collaborative that I would need some major time to recharge after a work day. Yet now I found myself in a situation where I didn't need any recharge time at all. It was the opposite. I craved team meetings, I craved discussions. I tried to find different ways around it. So I would go to co working spaces. And yes, sometimes I would meet people there, but it was essentially still working alone. And I joined a professional networking group, which to this day I highly recommend because you need to mix with people outside your industry, but who are still professionals, like in some kind of capacity. So it brought me like lots of knowledge and exposure, yet I was still alone. And I was in the early stages of developing a product, and my collaborators worked remotely abroad. So I had no one to like share my workday with, the way you would with coworkers. So kind of like this year made me go back to like the drawing board and rethink my entire business model and ensure that the company I'm building has space for others, and that being a one woman show is not what I want. I don't want to be an island. I want to be part of a team. I want to be part of something that has a bit more than just like me in it. And I've learned that this year to kind of be sure of. Now, when you think about kind of like the first step to like taking that risk to kind of like taking a career break, um, keeping in mind the loneliness, the difficulty, I mean, we all know like it's so cliche, entrepreneurship is tough, we know that. But if I could leave anyone considering a break with one piece of advice, it would be, this is maybe not the most tactful thing, but I'm going to say it. No matter how much money you think you may need in 1 year, double it. You don't realize how quickly you're going to burn through your savings and through your expenses. And the most unexpected things that can happen will happen. I mean, in the span of like 2 weeks, my water heater, my oven, and like my washing machine all broke. I had to get them either replaced or repaired. That was like a large expense I didn't see coming. I had no income coming in. That caused stress in my head, things like that. Delays happen too. Every like deadline from a supplier, double it in your head as well. Time is money. No matter how much you plan for things, always keep some money aside for the unexpected. This is like such an important thing that I learned this year. One other thing I would advise is to properly take the time to nurture your relationships. There's no easy way around it. Entrepreneurship is so tough. It can make or break you, and you'll inevitably find yourself relying on your support system a little bit more than you thought you would. And the strength of those relationships can make or break for you.
That's a little bit scary, to be honest.
To be honest, I have to be honest.
Yeah. It's good that you're preparing our listeners to like the worst scenario. It's good to know what are like almost the dark sides of taking the career break or investing into entrepreneurship or like following that journey. Um, and yeah, even if that can be exciting journey, there are also, as you mentioned, some negative aspects of it, or like things you need to prepare before moving into that space. But what about like being able to return to a regular job? I mean, it sounds like you're like eager to come back to working in a collaborative space, into like to join the company. So I assume like it's possible, and it's not a problem at all. You tried the entrepreneurship, it wasn't like for you, and right now you're like coming back with recharge batteries and making sure that, and no, like, and with belief and conviction that you actually want to work in a company with other people in a collaborative kind of role.
Yeah, so I think I should also like just clarified before. Although entrepreneurship full time isn't for me, I still have like a product I am developing on the side. So kind of like that will still happen. That passion project of mine hasn't been killed or died at all. Just like a matter of like not needing to focus on it full time and understanding that I think I don't need to. I don't like. I had so much time. I don't need to be doing that full time. I can still have like a professional life that fills my cup in like a different way, and also be able to like nurture my passion project on the side alone at home after hours at work on the weekend, like whatever. So just learning about that balance is something that I had to like discover on my own. I thought it was either one or the other. It can be both. You don't have to kind of like take on this mantle of I am a full-time tech person or like I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Um, Detaching yourself from the identity of that is actually really helpful. And that's what I've learned to do like over like this past year. I was like, I'm a founder, I'm a CEO, but like, no, like it doesn't, like that whole identity doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm just a person now who is fulfilled by doing multiple things. And my focus now is like just balancing multiple things, like kind of like learning how to balance multiple aspects of my life, whether they're professional or personal. That's just where I am. Not like no identity needed other than that.
I think that's the point when I want to reach.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
it
in a
takes
great.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I definitely, realize that. But you touched upon important topic that I want to like go to next, which is work-life balance and also high-stress environments. So, how do you manage work-life balance, especially in these high-stress roles and environments? We all know that technology and IT and like finance, like business, I would say in general, is causing a lot of stress. So, how do you manage that?
For the longest time, I didn't. My approach was to hyper focus on work and ignore my personal life and my health and my well being. But that catches up with you. And when you find yourself, when you no longer find yourself satisfied purely by your accomplishments at work, you realize how much you ignored. And this may not be the most eloquent way to say it, but like just the only way you can manage work life balance is to prioritize the concept of balance. you need to make a conscious, active choice to put energy into your personal life. If your job drains you, find out how best to recharge. And then, I mean, it differs from person to person, but basically find out how to best recharge and use whatever little energy you have left and put that into your into your cup, into your personal life, into your health, even if it's small. Do it. We all have the ability as humans like to just like take a moment, zoom out, take a few deep breaths and stay in the present. And when you're in the present moment, you're kind of aware of where you are in your life and like what your life looks like and how you can start to figure out how to work with what you've got and to make sure that you can put some of your energy into your personal life, however little that may need to be at first. Don't overwhelm yourself. Little bit is okay, but just make that small conscious effort at first if you can.
Yeah. Again, focusing on like small steps
Mm-hmm.
and the choice to prioritize something. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's our responsibility to choose the priorities, to know what are our priorities, to know what our values are. Because if we don't realize that, then yeah, it can lead us into high stress environments and roles that do not fit us. But what tips do you have for professionals looking to achieve a better work life balance?
Sometimes just the notion of balance is overwhelming in and of itself because you feel like you need to muster the same amount of energy you put into work into your personal life as well. It's not about the 50-50 split. It's just rather about being able to just like I said, zoom out, look at your life and know that it is full. You're fulfilled not only by the identity of your job, but also with how you spend your time outside of work. Your relationships are nurtured and your well is just flowing. You know when to take time alone to recharge. What I'm saying sounds so maybe like idealistic, but take it from someone who has struggled with balance for 10 plus years. When you make the conscious effort to assess your life and not just let your life live you, you can find the right spaces to focus on what you need. It's all there. You just have to give yourself the space and just the grace to see it.
Yeah, yeah, it's about again, it's like not about the 50-50. If it's more like a kind of ability to prioritize right things in the right moment in life, not forgetting how our personal life is intertwined with work. Because very often we tend to focus on one area of our life, like for example, career, to simply like run away from the topics or from the areas that do not satisfy us. And yeah, I think that the clue is in stop procrastinating and running away into the professional space or any other space that you feel more like easier to navigate, and to actually do the hard work with the pieces that are difficult and you struggle to tackle them, yeah, to manage them. So thank you for mentioning that also, about the choices and the kind of this concept of balance not being a split, like a concrete split. And what strategies have you found effective for maintaining mental health and well-being while going for your like ambitious career goals? Because you are ambitious. We can like all sense that from like, even when speaking to you, the way you speak, you are the ambitious person, and I believe you have like a very big career goals.
I do, but let me just say that what I do for my mental health is very, very basic, but the magic is in the consistency. There are two things I do every day without fail. The first is I take a walk every morning. I'm very fortunate to have a dog, so she gets me out of the house without fail daily. That morning walk is where I do my best thinking. I sift through my thoughts. It's usually either I process like the terrible thing that happened the day before, or I work on some kind of like game plan for the day. Um, I live in Dubai, so like I have nice weather for like 9 months of the year. I can take long walks, like an hour plus if needed, like in the morning. And then we have 3 really excruciatingly hot months. So like during those hotter months, like when like my walks are shorter, I find that I need to do like additional things to like, clear out my mind because I'm so dependent on that long morning walk to just like get my thoughts in order and to kind of process through my default of overthinking and overanalyzing. And that brings me to my second thing. So like my second thing is journaling. I write every morning. This happens after my walk. So I use that to like let things out. I'm an overthinker by nature. And a lot of times my ambitions are tied up with very complicated emotions. I've come to kind of think of, my brain is like a system of pipes and my thoughts flow through like water. And sometimes it's smooth, like sometimes it gets clogged with an overabundance of thoughts. Especially when those thoughts are like ruminating or coming up with future alternative situations and problems that haven't even happened, that may never even exist. Like kind of, I'm thinking about them like in my head like the whole time. So writing them out has been a really surprising way of just clearing out those thoughts that I truly have like no use to have in my brain at all. I didn't expect that to happen when I started writing every morning, but it's been like a welcome consequence of something that has had a direct effect on the quality of my day, also the quality of my sleep, which I didn't expect at all. I would recommend everyone take up the habit of writing every morning if you can. And like it could look like anything really. It could be a list of gratitude things or a stream of consciousness, whatever you want. Just let it out, clear out those brain pipes, and like build these systems that are so integral to kind of how you live. So that when you're having like a bad moment or like a bad day, or you're overwhelmed, like burnt out, you can fall back on your systems. Those for me have been life changing, and they're small and achievable, but very effective in the consistency in the long run.
And the one common trait among those is also that they are free. They are accessible to everyone. It doesn't have to be like, excessive. It doesn't have to be like, classes in the morning. It doesn't have to be like a, very complicated routine. It's about taking a walk and writing, and I hear it a lot from different professionals that journaling and walking makes them feel in peace. And we have to remember that it's not complicated. It's free. It's almost free because you can write everywhere. You just need to have a notebook. You don't have to write on your laptop. You can just take a piece of paper and write down what you're thinking. And now I would like to move to the topic of some practical steps for those returning to workforce after a career break. Because you said that, you have that systems, you have that routines. But when you're coming back and changing the kind of environment, you also need to like align those to I think, to the career that you will choose. Yeah. So what are some practical steps for people who want to come back from career break?
The worst thing about job seeking is that it can feel like a full-time job on its own. It can consume you, and you open yourself up to a slew of rejections and a lack of acknowledgement of your effort. And the way I approached it this time is to not come from like a place of lack or desperate energy. Now that's easier said than done because I'm at a point now where I am ready to get back to work. I miss being part of a team. I just have all this energy that is waiting to be used in a full-time role again. And I can't do anything but like just accept that like the right role will come when it comes. For now, the only thing I can advise, if anything, is like not allow yourself to spiral. Don't get stuck in the helplessness of the job search because that doesn't benefit anyone like in this scenario. Rather understand that there are going to be things that are out of your hands, but there are also things that you can directly control, things that are in your hands. Things like your interviewing skills. Get your stories ready. Like I have mine like written out like examples of stories of projects I worked on, things that kind of like key moments in my career. Everything is written down, documented, just like I can like remember them myself. Like after 12 years, I have like quite a lot of things like that you've worked on. And I broke them all down like into the STAR method, like just situation, task, action, and then result. That's quite recommended to do for tech interviewing. And it's helped me to get through interviews quite easily. And you end up coming off looking competent and confident. So like just focus on what you can control, which is your interviewing, your CV, your just kind of like how you present yourself during these interviews, and nail that if you can. It's not too much pressure, of course. Like that's just kind of how I deal with the whole helplessness potential aspect of the situation, which is like basically I find like what I can control and I focus on that only.
So you focus on being well prepared, and you are, because I remember meeting you again. I'm coming back to that, but it was like
Yes.
very nice. It was very nice evening, and for the first time, I actually met business professionals in Dubai. Maybe not business professionals, but product people in Dubai, and I was wondering like how these communities like feeling, how they look like, and the conversation with you was easy. But I remember like even like when I asked you about your experience and you gave me that pitch and I was like, oh my God, I don't have anything like that prepared. It's amazing. So yeah. Yeah, I think you're nailing at your interviews because you're so well prepared. And I believe that it's about the right offer. It's
Yeah.
not about, yeah, because sometimes we feel like it's about us. Maybe we are not, good enough, not valuable. No, I believe the opposite. It's just, a kind of, it's not the role that will fit us and benefit in the future if we get the rejection. It's just the right role and their job will appear. And then you will be prepared after so many learnings, so many tries. You will be you will be prepared to get the job, and you'll get the job.
You know, at the end of April, I was interviewing for a role, and it was a role that, you know what, the company was like another holy grail that I wanted to work for. So I convinced myself like that I was right for this role. I went into the interview very prepared, and even with all that preparation, I wasn't a right fit. I could tell, the interviewer could tell it just was not a right match for my skill set and for my experience. And I got the rejection like a couple days later. I remember being so bummed because you have to like almost like just like remember to not take it personally, and like just because you want to work in like a specific company or like a specific industry, if the role isn't right, it's not just like don't push it. Don't like when you have like this resistance externally, don't push against it. Like just accept it for like what it is, because 6 weeks later, I am now like in the loop in the same company for like a different role that's very kind of in line with like my skill set. Like just kind of don't push against things. I'm not saying be passive at all, but just when there is a mismatch, accept it. Don't fight against it because of like another like reason that maybe comes from like a place of like desperation or lack or like kind of fear or like worry. The right role will come. Just prepare yourself for that. When it comes, you're able to grab it and catch it properly.
Yeah, that's a great advice. And that's again the kind of I think our conversation can be like a little bit summarized in two mantras. Just do it and in the same time let it go.
Yes. Yes, 100%. Like I was like basically kind of just like stop focusing on the outcome, focus on the process instead. So like just kind of focus on like what you need to do kind of to get yourself where you want, but where you end up in the very end can be somewhere that you completely had no idea that you would end up in. Allow yourself to be open to different expectations and outcomes. The things that have come my way the past, let's say 6 weeks, because I've had this idea has been so mind blowing in like a very cool way. Just allow yourself the grace of letting go of your outcomes and your expectations, and just focus on presenting yourself in like the best way you can, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And yeah, reflecting on our conversation, I always have that question about the advice, the crucial piece of advice that you would give to someone looking for their ideal job and career path. You mentioned that, but yeah, if you want to reiterate on that.
I mean, I would just say kind of like just focus. How can you position yourself? Who should you be talking to? How are you ensuring that you'll not only get the interview, but do well in it? Just really, really focus on not only focus, but just like kind of be proactive and active in the things you are able to affect. Networking has been instrumental for me. Like for example, you and I met at like a product event. A year ago, I'd have never gone to a networking event. I didn't feel the need for it. I didn't enjoy it. I hate small talk. but you push yourself to do these things, to meet people, and it can only benefit you in like kind of like the long run. This year was like kind of like a lesson in relationships, a lesson in like kind of like valuing the people in my life and valuing the strength of connections. So like just kind of like focus on those aspects if you can as well to get you where you need to get.
Yeah, yeah. I really like these advices. Yeah, I think I'm following those. Thank you for highlighting those. Maybe more people will also find the benefit in networking and like building strong relationships, building your network, building your also support system, as you mentioned. Yeah, because network can also be your support system in the professional surrounding, of course. But yeah, it's good to keep that in mind, that it's again about people. And Natalie, what upcoming projects or personal adventures you're most excited about right now?
So, I mean, well, I have quite like a few things I've been thinking about. I mean, I've had a year of lessons and redirection and failure. So I wanted to like share those like in a format I love, which is writing. So I'm looking into like starting a newsletter or an emailer of some sort. I'm still in like the early stage of conceptualizing it. But it's something I've been really keen on doing and will likely properly spend time on this summer once I'm a little bit more settled, like in my job search. So stay tuned for that. I don't know when it's going to happen, but this summer, hopefully, I will make something a bit more public.
Wow, wow. I will be the subscriber, the first subscriber. I'm very curious of your lessons learned and and guidance on the next steps. And for our listeners who would like to connect with you or learn more about your work, where they can find you online.
I mean, the best place to find me is LinkedIn. So come say hi. I tend to answer all of my DMs. Reach out. I will answer. I've been spending a lot more time on there because, you know, I'm in the whole job searching loop and so on. So if I do decide to like launch anything, I will announce it there as well first. So yeah, I mean, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm there every day.
Okay, I'll put a link to your LinkedIn account
Yes.
in the episode description. And yeah, Natalie, I really wanted to thank you for our conversation. It was a lot about professional life, but also about personal life and how that intertwines. And I think that will be a very valuable conversation and a lot of practical tips for professionals who are either considering career breaks or coming back after career breaks or just looking for the right balance. Thank you for that.
I mean, thank you for having me. I'm so honored that you asked to have me on your podcast. I really enjoy doing this. Like, I'd love to connect further, do more of these. So yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lovely experience, and good luck to anyone listening. Like, I hope that you found some value in this. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I do answer. So like, yeah, I'm here to help anyone anytime. So hope this helped someone somehow.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Natalie. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Doing It My Way by Beata Matras. If you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe. Remember, this podcast is a dynamic journey and your feedback is very welcomed. Connect with me on social media. I would like to hear your thoughts, questions, and topic suggestions. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes. And until next time, keep doing it your way.